Welcome back to our weekend edition of the Cabral Concept. It's great to have you here today. Looking forward to seeing what our community is asking in terms of their wellness, weight loss, anti-aging based questions. Really now it's been a pleasure to be able to connect with you on the weekends, and hopefully you do tune in every Saturday and Sunday, going through what is on our community's mind. So what are they dealing with? What are they struggling with for themselves or their family or their loved ones that they're looking for that second opinion? A place that takes them to just not the typical things that they might recommend in conventional medicine, meaning match up this specific disease with this pharmaceutical drug, mask the symptoms, and hope that it's okay, right? That it never comes back again and it doesn't cause other issues in the body, right? From the specific etiology of the disease, meaning that just because you are able to mask the symptoms in one area doesn't mean that underlying root cause will not find another outlet where the body begins to compensate with more issues, whether it be skin issues or heart disease or high blood pressure or thyroid or headaches. You know, these are all oftentimes linked to many of the same underlying root causes. So that's what we hope to get to on these weekend house calls, going through the underlying root causes so that you know that there is an alternative, that there is a way to begin to reverse and begin to rebalance the body. All right. So I've got all my questions here in front of me. Looking forward to scrolling through the iPad, through all the different questions that my team has compiled. And these compiled questions come from stephencabral.com/Ask Cabral. And they are all answered in the order that they come in. So today is episode 1065. If you want to follow along, just go to stephencabral.com/1765. You'll be able to see all of the questions. And this is on December 5th. And the first question comes in from October 25th. Okay, so we're about, what, 5-6 weeks behind. That's pretty normal for us. So again, if you ask your questions before October 25th, well, they will be coming on a future show. All right, first question is from Brandon. Brandon says, what are your favorite men's soaps and shampoos? Looking for recommendations on regular shampoo and dandruff shampoo. All right, it's a great question. I'm actually experimenting with a bunch of different new shampoos. So my wife uses her own shampoos and she's super into all the best, like skincare and hair and like all of these different things. Again, like not from a vanity standpoint, but it's like, these are the cleanest products. She researches them and she looks at them for her hair. Her hair's very unique. And I mean that in a very positive and loving way. She has more curly hair. She has drier curly hair. And for her, she needs to make sure that she finds a very specific shampoo for that. And so I don't necessarily use the same shampoos as her, although hers are super clean. And she's always experimenting with new great ones as well. So what I can say is I'm going to list my favorites very, very shortly at stephencabral.com/resources. I've already listed the men's deodorant, men's hair stuff that I use, the clay that I use that's all natural. And I've listed natural toothpaste. I'll be listing more as well in the future. I'll be listing the natural toothpaste that my daughters use. Yeah, all sorts of different things. So I'll be listing all of those under kind of the skin and beauty section at stephencabral.com/resources. Now, in terms of the dandruff issue, remember, there's two things you want to look at, internal and external reasons for dandruff. So the very first one you want to do is run that CBO protocol. That's going to be your Candida. Sorry, you're going to run the lab test first, which is your Candida metabolic and vitamins-based test. Look for yeast overgrowth, look for Candida. It can lead to scalp-based issues. The second one, if you decide not to run that lab, then you might want to just do the CBO protocol and then the CBO finisher after that. Now, that's great internally, but what about externally? Well, externally, we just want to make sure we don't over-shampoo our hair. That can cause dry skin in the scalp. That can cause flaking. Low thyroid, poor circulation cause that as well. That lab would be the stress hormones mood and metabolism test to check out your thyroid. Omega-3s can be an issue, but honestly, it's easy to supplement with just omega-3 support. You can find that at equa.life. And the last part is topical solution. So coconut oil overnight or sesame oil overnight on the scalp, fantastic. Highly recommend that. And then a couple essential oils you could use as well. Bergamot is one, but really if you want the antifungal, I would go with a couple drops of tea tree mixed in that sesame oil or coconut oil, depending on which one you prefer to use in your scalp. Now, you don't have to put it all over your hair, by the way. You just have to massage it into the scalp. And even before you do that, like let's say you shower at night, you could use a little bit of apple cider vinegar in there as a toner, and you could just wash it out if you wanted to in the shower or keep it on. And then you would actually put on that coconut oil or sesame oil with a little bit of the tea tree oil mixed in. So there you have it. Thanks, Brandon, for writing in. Anonymous is up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Thanks for all you do. I'm about 10 years in on my current health journey. I found you 1.5 years ago, and now I'm making some progress. I'm currently working with a level 2 IHP, and I've done the food sensitivity test, the spit lab test, that's the stress hormones, mood, and metabolism, a 14-day detox, the CBO plus the finisher, and the mold protocol. I'm getting yeast infections. I've already listened to all your past yeast infection podcasts, and they come at the same time in my cycle. I was just going to mention this. I already know the answer, but we'll wait for the question. I don't want to jump ahead like that guy. So it basically what it happens in her cycle. The other issue I'm still fighting is bacterial infections on the tip of my nose and sometimes inside my nose. I've had 20 to 30 over the past few years. They clean up with Neosporin. So far, every doc that I've asked can't figure out the last 2 issues for long-term success. I'm on all of your supplements with the DNS. I'm healthy, active, and great besides the 2 annoying recurring issues. Those nose infections are definitely linked to sinus stuff that I've worked on through the years, all linked to candida and sinus infections. Thanks for the help. Okay, let's deal with the latter first. So sinus issues, bacterial issues with the nose, they work with Neosporin. Okay, we know that Neosporin's antibacterial, so we need to do something that's antibacterial, at least topically for the nose. So what I really like to do is the neti pot. I still use the neti pot because, again, remember, I have no adenoids, I have no tonsils. They broke a bone in my nose while intubating me and basically trying to get my adenoids out. It was a disaster. We'll just put it that way. It was a disaster. I was 21 years old when they did that the second time because they didn't get it all the first time. Disaster. But anyway, we will move on from that. I forgive them. I moved on. So, but the truth is that I have a deviated septum on my right side. May I have it corrected one day? Maybe, but I'm okay now. Like I can do nasal breathing and I can, do my running with my mouth closed. I can do my overnight with mouth taping. I can do all of those things. So it's okay. But if I want to breathe even better in the future, maybe that's the one thing I would do. Okay. So, but besides that, I use a neti pot. And the neti pot, I just fill up with the Himalayan sea salt. I believe I have it at stephencabral.com/resources. And I just put a little bit, there's just 1 scoop from the Himalayan sea salt. And then I fill it up. Simple, right? And then I put a couple drops of the either Citra drops or the it's Nutribiotic. Okay, Nutribiotic nasal spray in there. And so then I put that through my nose, and it's basically antifungal, antibacterial. So it works great for me, and that's really helped for me to keep sinus infections and all that away. Because remember, with the deviated septum and not being able to let things drain properly, things back up in the sinuses. So not everybody has to do this, but it works for me. So I just do it every morning in the shower. Super simple. If it's a gut-based issue, I would recommend running that bacteria and parasite stool lab. It sounds like you've done a lot. I would definitely run that just to see if there's any remaining bacteria. And then in terms of the, you had one more issue. And it was, you get yeast infections. Okay. Yeast infections can be due to an imbalance in progesterone. So I will be teaching this inside of my female hormones health results accelerator. I can't recommend looking into that enough. It will teach you why women get recurring yeast infections even when they have normalized yeast in the intestines, that they don't have Clostridium overgrowth, they don't have Klebsiella overgrowth, they don't have Citrobacter overgrowth in their gut. So it can actually have to do with imbalances in progesterone, believe it or not. That has been kind of like the final factor for many women to rebalancing their body, and your stress hormones, mood and metabolism test will let you know what your progesterone is doing. Make sure to take that lab when you get the yeast infection during your cycle, all right? So take the lab during that time and you'll find out what's going on with your progesterone. Or, of course, you can take the Health Results Accelerator. All right. Thank you for writing in, Anonymous. Great question. Kaz is up next. Hi, Dr. Ball. Thank you for the difference you are making in the natural health field, sharing your knowledge and being accessible to everyone who has a question. I appreciate it so much, as so many people do. My question today is regarding chronic eczema and supposed extreme allergy to dust mite in the treatment of ACTAIR Immunotherapy. My daughter's boyfriend, who's 25 years old, has spent his life suffering with extreme allergic reactions, rhinitis, eczema, and bouts of asthma. He has had plenty of courses of antibiotics over the years, but in recent years, not so much. However, recently he had such bad eczema that the scratching extended to staph. His doctor prescribed antibiotics, and one course wasn't enough. 2, 3, now on his 4th consecutive course of antibiotics. He's had allergy tests positive to dust mites, consultation with specialists to begin ACTAIR immunotherapy for dust mite allergy, which is a 2 to 3 year desensitizing process and does come with side effects. I'm wondering if you know much about this therapy. I feel he would get great results using Equilife products, a hair mineral analysis, etc. He is concerned that there's no proof that would work. Would love to hear your comments. Thanks so much. Okay. Well, I mean, in terms of no proof that it would work, I don't need, people just say that. I mean, they have no proof in the even question that they're asking that there is an actual correct question to ask. You know, it's like, if you don't have any idea about it, you can't really say that there's no proof. But again, like, I totally understand it. But you have to understand is everything in the body is imbalanced. Well, let's put it this way. The reason you're feeling the symptoms that you do, such as the eczema, the rhinitis, the allergies, is because there is an underlying imbalance, and the underlying imbalance is most likely predicated by what's called Th2 immune system dominance. We know that because everything they just stated is a Th2 immune dominance issue. You can check out my podcast on that, specifically on Th1 versus Th2. Clearly, this person leans Th2 dominant, but part of that is genetic, yes. A lot of it is due to gut-based issues. So I have a fly flying around my face right now. So for those watching on video, there's a little fruit fly flying around me, and I'm sure he's harmless but annoying. So what I wanted to share with you is this: is that oftentimes it goes back to previous courses of antibiotics as a child, and that's a big deal. So even though it's been a while since you did antibiotics, it doesn't mean that the gut is balanced. So, I mean, I can't recommend enough for this person to run the Big 5. If not, run the starter kit, kind of what you alluded to. But I would probably try to get that bacteria and parasite stool test in there as well, and the food sensitivity test. Like, this person, if they really want to know, they have to look at the underlying root causes. So it's hard to say there's no proof, because it's all the proof that you need. You look at your vitamins and minerals. You look at your food sensitivities. People with eczema have food sensitivities. They oftentimes have intestinal permeability. They have immune system imbalance. So there's really no other way to fix it than to fix what the underlying root causes are. It's the only way. Now, in terms of the ACTAIR, I don't really have too much of a problem with that. It honestly, it's not a protocol that I use, but I don't have an issue with allergy desensitization programs. I don't at all, whether it's allergy injections or sublingual. I typically lean towards the sublingual because the allergy injections can have metals in them, and they can have certain preservatives where the sublinguals typically don't as much. But you would have to call the company and ask, what are the other ingredients besides the tiny amounts of that dust mite, right? So that your body builds up a little bit of a tolerance to it. So I'm okay with that. I just don't know what they add to it. And then, of course, for dust mites, since the majority of it's going to be exposed oftentimes, unless you're working in like a library, a lot of it's going to be exposed when you're sleeping at night because it's in your bed. So dust mite covers for your pillows and bed, a good filter for your room, like the Ear Doctor or the IQ Ear. Check them out at stephencabral.com/resources. They oftentimes come with some type of coupon code. And then you'll want to wash your sheets every couple of days to a week maximum. And hopefully that's helpful. Thank you for writing in. All right. Kelly's up next. Hi, Dr. Brawl. My 8-year-old son completed the children's CBO this summer. He did have anaphylactic to scallops in the middle of it, so we had to stop for a few days, but for the most part, we followed it. I've been sharing my CBO finisher with him, although not religiously. He seems to have been doing better. Belly aches and headaches seem better. Acid reflux is gone. Armpit eczema is gone. Well, Kaz, you can share that with your friend as well. Obviously, this is always just tongue-in-cheek because I know how stressful health-based issues are. But again, take it from someone that's been through all this before. You will be able to figure it out. And so enjoy the process. Enjoy the process about learning. But for the last 5 days, he has been getting random hives on his body and itching throughout the day. but especially at night when he's trying to fall asleep. The only way he's been able to fall asleep with a little bit of Benadryl and wet wraps. He also has blotchy red spots around his mouth area. He had terrible eczema when he was 3 months and 3 years, but it's mostly gone. Now it seems like it's coming back. He did the food sensitivity as well as the scratch testing, and we try to stay away from those. He hasn't been eating anything new that I'm aware of, so I don't know what's happening. He is very sensitive to gluten, dairy, sugar in many foods, and did have a lot of dairy at a friend's house just before this started. Any ideas as to what's happening and how to help him heal? Greatly appreciated. Thank you. Yes, the most likely answer is always the most straightforward one. He was doing fine, and then he got worse. Something was introduced. Even if it's a healthy food, remember, a lot of these gluten-free foods can be filled with tapioca starches and other things that people react to. But in this case, he is very sensitive to gluten, dairy, and sugar and many other foods, and did have a lot of dairy at a friend's house just before this started. That's your answer. Honestly, let's not overcomplicate this. We don't need to run a lot more tests. We don't need to redo the CBO protocol. We need to get rid of that dairy from his diet. He's clearly very sensitive to this from what's most likely an IgE immune sensitivity. If someone hasn't run their IgG food sensitivity before, I can't recommend it enough. It's, again, especially Kaz, for your friend here as well. Check it out. I mean, honestly, it's so important, and you can find it with your local naturopathic doctor, your local integrative health practitioner, or at equi.life, which is equi.life. Just type in food test, and you'll find it. That's it. Get rid of those. Get rid of the dairy for an elimination now. Help him through this period of time. And once things are balanced, we may even want to add in that clean gut probiotic as well for 1 round. Okay? Michael's up next. Hey, Dr. Cabral, I want to know what causes eye floaters. Also, how can you treat it naturally? All right, Michael, thank you for writing in. I'm going to see, I don't usually look these up mid-show, but I want to make sure on this podcast and going forward, actually, all in 2021, that I'm really dedicated to answering all new questions, because I want to create like the world's largest database of audio-based answers for people's health issues for no other reason, just to point people directly to it. So I really want to answer new ones as well. Okay, so we had a dry scalp question. That one's on 1268. We have eye floaters. Let's see here. Eye floaters is episode 429. Okay, so I'll just give you a quick synopsis, and then I would go back to 429, stephencabral.com/429. You can listen to the other shows as well. Again, every show is available at stephencabral.com/podcasts, and that's really what you're going to want to always type in first for your answer. But eye floaters oftentimes is caused under a higher stress period of time or chronic eye stress, where more calcium has been pulled into the, let's say, arteries and capillaries, and we start to see pieces of that potentially in the eye. So I've often got, now it's not the only reason. I just want you to know, go back to the other episode, check out other reasons. There is more to it than this. It's inflammation. It's using things like lutein and zeaxanthin and all sorts of great things. We've got a pretty amazing, our anti-aging line it won't be out until late 2021, but great products with that as well. Again, the lutein, the zeaxanthin, astaxanthin, et cetera. But we want to look at overall inflammation. We want to look at stress. We want to use magnesium. We want to use adrenal soothe. And we want to, again, regulate stress. And we want to use omega-3s in the diet. So, Michael, that's the first place to start. Let's get in one more question today. It's also from Michael, and it says, hey, Dr. Cabral, what's the difference between collagen protein and bone broth protein? All right, it's a great question. And the easiest way to remember it is this, is that bone broth contains collagen, but collagen doesn't necessarily contain bone broth or come from bone broth. So let's go over what bone broth really is. So bone broth is essentially boiling down bones. And if you do it the old school way and the correct way, you're also going to throw in maybe like chicken feet and something like that with a little bit of cartilage as well. So you're going to get the cartilage and you're going to get the bone, but it's not necessarily the skin and the meat that goes along with it. My apologies about the dog barking in the background. So what we want to look at is saying, okay, bone broth, some collagen, mainly from bone, going to contain things like chondroitin sulfate, going to contain a lot of minerals, great for the gut, as long as you don't have histamine issues, right? Because histamine issues will be driven crazy by both of these things. Now, when we look at collagen, though, collagen is going to be mainly from the skin and the hide of an animal. So when we look at that, that's going to be especially great, the collagen peptides and all that, for hair, skin, and nails, right? So like we have one called Advanced Collagen Support. It's the best product out there right now, like no hedge at all about it. And here's why. It has 3 patent ingredients. It's an expensive product for us to make, but it's the very best product that you can make. And that's why we made it, because we didn't want to be another Me Too based product. So again, you can find that at eco.life, but it has, I won't go through it today. I'm not, if it works for you, great. I always want to bring you the education. So it has 3 patent ingredients that are all coming from, basically collagen on an animal, because that's where you get collagen from. Really difficult to get it from plant-based foods alone. Now, you can get all the collagen precursors, and I've done a podcast on that as well. The vitamin C, the zinc, etc. So here's what I want to share with you. They're both great in their own unique way. I ask you, why are you using it? And that's basically probably the answer that you want. If you're using it for gut healing, and I would mainly say for gut and overall nutrient and minerals and the sulfur for a little bit of detox, then I would go bone broth. If you are looking for it for hair, skin, nails, joints, beauty-based, I would go with collagen, like the Advanced Collagen Support. So, Michael, hopefully that answers your question. Really great questions today. Today's show, as always, flew by, but I will be back tomorrow answering more of our community's questions. Take care, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the weekend, and I will talk with you tomorrow.